All right, and we are back with another episode of Funny Book Forensics. And Greg, did we lose him? Is he lost still? Like, this is the third episode with Travis on in a row, and Greg
I don't know who
nowhere
Greg
to be
is.
seen.
There's no
your
Greg.
co-author?
There's no Greg. There's only Travis.
There's only Travis. Oh, wow. Was he
Are you the key
consumed
master?
by like a... Oh, wow. I wasn't going to go there. I was going to plug your comic. I was just going to ask if he was consumed by like transdimensional spider wizards or something crazy.
Yes, he was consumed by transdimensional spider wizards.
Brett wrote him out of the story.
Prince.
In issue 5,
Brett drew him
out of the story off panel. Always fun to kill people off panel, Travis.
They did do that, didn't they? Yes. That wasn't Greg's call. In fact, they fought me against it. I fought back tooth and nail. But
it worked. It worked. I was so mad. And not in the like go away, don't ever buy the comic again mad, but as in like just emotionally attached to this character that you're killing off panel. It worked. It really did work. Spoiler alert, if you haven't read Starlight, I won't say which character, so let's not do that.
I will say Greg and Brett did get a page put in to make that a little better. So I'm glad that happened because it was even more abrupt in the first run. The first run.
Interesting. I don't know. Abrupt might have done the same thing to me, but I will say like nothing like flashback scenes. And, you know, the one, again, you were mentioning last time you said, that looks like Chris Claremont. And you like when there was a bunch of writing on a page and then you were like, I don't want to insult Chris Claremont. And I'm like, look, writers, artists, authors are fair game on this. Creators are fair game on this podcast. Like, because we don't have to like everything about somebody to still enjoy them.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's a lot of, we've been talking, you know, the last few before we got on with you, we were talking about Jim Shooter because he just passed away. And, you know, there's a lot about Jim Shooter not to like. And there's a lot about Jim Shooter to like. And I'm glad I met him later on in his life, like when we were at the con and we actually had a chance to talk to him so I could interact with him and ask him questions. But wow, you know, not everything that man did was great. And not everything he did was bad. You know, there's in betweens. And I think there's some greats, you know, David Michelini that did the Demon in a Bottle story line. Also wrote a terrible maxi series, or a lot of it anyway. That was a Legion of Superheroes character called Karate Kid. Good job, DC, by the way. Hit that about, you know, 1976, 77, about, you know, 10 years after the karate movies were popular, right? But, you know, yeah, storylines were terrible. I don't even think he put his name on a couple of the books. I mean, just because, you know, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's okay. And honestly, we're glowing about these Power Pack books. Sometimes I think the listeners like it when I'm sad. Reading books. They're like, we like it when Dan is like miserable. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be miserable in these books, Travis. These are fun. I like these books. I like these books. And I think, you know, we were talking last time, we finished off the podcast saying how nice it is to read a book sometimes that is joyful and doesn't bring sadness. Not everything has to be Alan Moore's Batman, right? Dark Knight Returns.
Wait, what?
Wait, did I screw that up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
I think
it's Saturday. It's non-recording day. Sometimes I mess up things, and it's okay. Because I'm old.
It's actually a pretty good joke.
That's why I keep these books behind me that tell me what happens in comics. By the way, if I didn't plug this book last time, I think I did, but these American Comic Book Chronicles, I mention them often. But even if you're not getting these, Tomorrow's Publishing. Fantastic. You know, if you're into the history of comics, you can pretty much go to their website and find a magazine or a book that they have in their catalog that's about something that you love. Look, Zot.
I used to buy the Marvel Universe encyclopedias.
I love those.
I used to buy them every time they came out. At Lady Jane's.
Yeah, I bought them. I bought the
Pearl.
DC. Well, I get the DC equivalents, of course. I have I actually have the omnibus, Who's Who omnibus over here, like right over
Yeah, I
here.
saw that. I was looking at that
I'm
when
not
we
gonna
were talking the other day.
I'm not gonna grab them right now because my arm's hurt, and Travis and I have already discussed not grabbing things with your left arm that's hurt, especially an omnibus, because that seems like a terrible idea. I will say we were kind of time and placing some stuff around where we were at. We mentioned you weren't reading a lot of books when you started reading Power Pack. And I'm going to get into this issue for a second, but I just wanted to level set to you because I want to go back for a second about your love of Power Pack. And, when we get into the really dark stuff that's going to happen at DC in 1986, right? That's Watchmen, right? Okay. And we get Frank Miller on The Dark Knight. We get Alan Moore on Watchmen. Let me not screw up today. Power Pack's still coming out a couple years before the really dark stuff, right? What do you think prompted that move from, comic book stories where the superhero is just a superhero and they win, to that deconstruction superhero universe, right? Like, what was the fan push? What was the rationale? Like, I know you weren't that old when all this was happening, but obviously you saw the post effect of it. You were mentioning deconstructed superheroes. Why was there such a demand for that deconstructed superhero? Like, what made the fans tired, so to speak, of beautiful art, of happiness?
I wasn't really old enough to know that, and I'm not a historian. I have some guesses, and there's probably better people to talk about this than me. But my guesses is we were coming out of the Comics Co. Silver era, and suddenly you start getting things like there's little hints of things going down. Doom Patrol, before that, right? And then you have it was just in my head before I started talking, and I started talking and lost it. But you have these little hint things that are happening, that things get darker and darker. Oh, X-Men.
Yeah.
Start getting very serious, and they start leading the Marvel way into more serious stuff. Like there isn't so much the good guy is always perfectly a good guy. Hey, it starts getting darker and darker. In my opinion, really on the Marvel side, first based on my own reading, when I was reading comics.
Yeah.
The indies start really pushing weird shit. So, we have some comics that are coming out at that time that are very dark and twisted and have drugs and stuff, right? And so specifically, I think DC's turn is what we'd be talking about there, because Marvel's already making the turn. They've been making the turn for a while. And I think that DC said, hey, how do we make something like what Marvel's doing with the X-Men? How do we do something like what the indies are doing with these darker comics? Because they're coming, and their
Yeah.
V marks were missing. And all of our superheroes are these happy-go-lucky traditional heroes from who had their heyday in many ways during the Silver Age. People say, "Oh, the Gold Age." But I'm like, man, I would be honest, I don't remember the popularity of DC Comics being as strong in the Golden Age as they are in the Silver Age. It feels, because I was alive, right, that's when DC was actually hitting a really strong stride with Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, the Justice League, because they all kind of worked well into Comics Code type stuff. And
Yeah.
and so when that gets removed, they don't really change. They're slower to adopt a darker, gritty era. And then they pick up these writers, and they're like, hey, I'd like to do something a little different. And I'm going to be honest, if you go back and look at the Watchmen, right? I don't remember at that time the Watchmen being that big of a deal. I know it sounds weird. People make it seem like it was this big seminal piece that came out. It was probably for some people who are a little obsessive about comics, but it was a slow burn. Because I don't remember being a major hitter when it came out. It felt like something weird from DC. struggling to do something with some properties they had, and giving a writer a chance with some, like I talked to you about this before. Sometimes you can get an IP as a writer that no one's caring about
Yep.
anymore, and you could do something to show blunt a little bit that you wouldn't normally be able to do with the major IP, right? Because no one's going to write a Spider-Man comic. No one's going to be allowed to write Spider-Man any differently than he's been written for years. That's a special privilege if you're going to get the alter. You're just going to write a stock Spider-Man story. But, here are these characters that DC had that they couldn't do anything with. They had this writer who did some really cool stuff with Swamp Thing and stuff. And you can go, okay, well, do something weird with this. But when you go back and look at Watchmen, it isn't that far off from what was already out. It's just DC had really been doing that.
Yeah.
You
Well, and I think the only thing, you say you're not a historian, but you're hitting on all the notes. I think the only note that wasn't there was like the British invasion, right? Like
I almost
what
brought
was
up
going
Grant
on
and
in
Neil and those guys. Yeah. So
what was going on in 2099. I messed that up. 80, right? Like in Judge Dredd and all that stuff over there, and those folks coming over and then writing properties here. And and of course, I do remember Watchmen being a big deal, but I didn't read it. I only remember it from the advertisements in the books I was reading because I'm getting the direct only Legion book, right? So since they're heavily they weren't doing a lot of advertising for other things in those books. One of the things DC was doing at the time was saying like advertising sort of a no ads kind of deal in their books that were direct sales only. So the only thing they were advertising is house ads at that point. So I remember the Watchmen ads coming in. I remember the Dark Knight Returns ads coming in, but I didn't read those as at that then. Actually, I still have never read. I mean, strike me down. I've still never read Frank Miller's Daredevil run, and you're dead on too because he does that, and then he comes to DC and does Dark Knight Returns, right? So, and I've never read either of them. So they really didn't have an effect on me at all, right? Outside of, as a historian, I know they had a major impact on comics, and then the success of those storylines prompted the two big companies to try to do more of that, right?
Well, I was going to say is that the reason they bring up the British invasions, I don't remember the British invasion happening until almost 1990. So I could be wrong. Someone could look that up, Google that, find out when, the boys came over. But, I don't remember them all coming over and being the British invasion. I mean, Alan was writing here. I don't remember them being the triad of fucking plot and story and narrative until about 1989, 1990. I think that the gates get opened by like the Dark Knight Returns and stuff. They go, okay, well, let's bring some of these other guys because they're doing really crazy shit, and we can compete with Marvel. And then Marvel's British invasion is awful. I'm sorry. Because they tried, they're like, oh, well, we got British writers too. And I mean, I read Motormouth and I read Dark Angel and stuff. I actually do like Excalibur. I'm not going to pull away from that, but Marvel doesn't handle it as well. Like, you put a lot of money in it.
Well, I thought a lot of what DC did is they let the authors either grab something like Doom Patrol, right, where they relaunch Doom Patrol, it fails miserably, and then they hand it off, and then it gets crazy and
Grant's
interesting.
run, right? You're
right.
going from,
well, because they
what's his
tried to
name,
make
Matt
Doom Patrol,
Hanson?
and that was Alan Moore's run, right? Or not Alan Moore's, Grant Morrison's run. Sorry,
Grant Morrison's run
I'm
was
messing up
successful,
all
I thought. It's the run before that's not that successful.
No, it wasn't. Well, it was like he picks up at like issue 15 or 16, and they basically kill off. They kill off that Doom Patrol during Invasion.
I'm looking at my Doom Patrol stuff real quick. I was trying to think if I have anything.
You switch to Grant Morrison. No, basically, so they kept trying to replicate the X-Men, and what they didn't get is they'd already done it, but every time they tried to do it again, it didn't make sense, right? So New Teen Titans, you already have Wolfman and Perez. You're already replicating X-Men. You already had Legion of Superheroes. You didn't need to do it again, right? You had present X-Men, future X-Men, and then they tried to do it with Doom Patrol, and what people wanted was the My Favorite Adventure Silver Age Doom Patrol you're talking about, right? That was pushing envelopes. And so you hand it off to Grant Morrison, and then they took it and obviously I like a lot of it. I don't like some of it, but it's good. And then when Rachel Pollack, right? I think that's the last name, took it over from Grant Morrison. I thought it was still great, though people think it tailed off then, but I really liked it. Um, and then another author too, DC had was Alan Grant, right? And Keith Giffen and Alan Grant teamed up with Legion 89 and a couple of the other cosmic things. And so, you're right. I do think that DC's British Invasion went a little bit better than Marvel's. Not a little bit, a lot better. Uh, and just interest of the books too, and getting people to pick up properties that they wouldn't have picked up before, like a Doom Patrol, like a new book like Legion 89, like you're looking at Watchmen, and unpopular opinion, but I think V for Vendetta is a better story than Watchmen
Y-
in the comic.
Okay, really unpopular opinion. I like the ending to the movie better.
Then on V for Vendetta?
No, for Watchmen.
Oh, for Watchmen, you liked it,
But at
yeah.
the same time, I also really, really love the octopus so much. The art is so beautiful and awesome. Those pages are just elegant, in my opinion. But for the story of Watchmen, I do like the twist for the movie better than the twist for the comic. But that's the difference between two different mediums, right? Honestly, I think the squid works better, or octopus, or whatever that thing is. It works better in the comic than it would have on a film. I think because visually speaking, that is really a captivating series of imagery in the book. And it's also something that works well in that medium. But narratively speaking, right, we're talking about narrative, it's a little bit too out of the left field, considering the rest of the way that comic had been running. Do you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
it's also from a side story that they eliminated from the movie, so it wouldn't have made any sense in the movie,
Oh,
right? They
the black.
eliminated Tales of the Black Freighter, and they eliminated the whole boat full of the artists and writers and creators that he captured to siphon off their creative energy, which generated the giant octopus monster. So with that out of the movie, and trust, we don't need the movie to be any longer.
The movie's actually kind of boring,
Yeah.
which is just a shame.
Yeah, we don't need the movie. Yeah, there was two long things about the movie, and neither of them were good.
Side note: everybody's hitting on all the actors hitting all cylinders. Scott Snyder's actually hitting on all cylinders. Someone should have came in with a pair of scissors.
Yeah,
That's what I figured. That's it. And that's okay. That's all right.
Zack Snyder.
Snyder, yeah.
Yeah, let's not. Scott Snyder gets plenty of credit
Yeah.
in other ways.
I don't want to do that. Sorry.
Well, we did work to it though. The reason I brought this up, the reason I wanted to tie back to this is because you've been talking about, and we sort of, it took us a minute. It took us like 18 minutes to get there, but that's okay because this comic's not going to take that long to cover. But the reason I wanted to have a little bit of this discussion was, one, the brightness we've been talking about in the book, but the coloring in this book is very reminiscent, and I think you brought this up last time, of the coloring in Watchmen. And when we get to the cover of this book, the issue 2 of Into the Storm, we've got monsters and colors that could have come straight out of those 9-panel grids in Watchmen.
Do you have your copy of Watchmen behind you?
Probably not. But the coloring is very similar to what we're seeing in this
I want
book.
to look at it real fast.
Yeah.
I don't watch it anymore. I think you gave it away a lot.
I've got it down here somewhere, but I'd have to find it.
Side note: I finally bought Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come is, have you read it?
I've gotten to the first part of it so far. It's okay.
I love it.
I know I'm reverse of feelings, but it hasn't.
It's pretty.
My thing is that I'm gonna do more bad evil things real quick. This is gonna make people hate me. I'm not a fan of Alex Ross sequentials.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
And it distracts me because his sequentials don't look like they're expressing movement. They look like someone holding a pose in a movement pose.
Yeah. I mean, with Kingdom Come, it's, it just depends, right? Like, it's Mark Waid's love letter to his dad and to the history of DC Comics, right? So, if you don't like his love letter, then you're not going to enjoy the book. And if you dig in and if you get into his love letter, then it is an amazing piece. And I'm totally okay with people not liking that book if they don't buy into that narrative. And it's like anything else. There's great stories for everyone out there. And yeah, I mean, that one I can easily grab. I can go grab my Kingdom Come Absolute Edition, and I've got my books over here in the stacks. Now I could walk over here. Unfortunately, they're in the W's, and the W's haven't made it into my comic files yet because I've got 2 more file cabinets to set up. So right here in these boxes I'm touching sit my original Watchmen books, but you did not ask me to pull out my original books.
Good. I just want to say
Yeah.
real quick on that. It's not that I don't like Kingdom Come. I avoided it because when it came out, I think I was still working in a shop off and on. I avoided it. It's just that and some other stuff that came out at the time wasn't really appealing to me at that time. Because I was younger and I was like, I want to read about old superheroes. And I was really into just doing weird stuff. And I've also never been a fan of I don't like with movies and books, if the lead character's a writer and it's about a writer, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Or if it's about how things work in Hollywood, it just never interests me. It starts feeling like inside baseball, I guess is the term. Right? I kind of start avoiding it. And that's how Kingdom Come felt when I was a kid, or not kid, but young. That's how it felt. And again, Alex's sequentials, not his art in general. Just want to make that very, very clear. Beautiful art, right? But I'm just not a big fan. They distract me when I'm reading a comic. I get stuck staring at the sequentials for some reason. And I figure it's because my brain's like seeing something weird there. But I will say I'm happier that I just recently bought it as an old man now, as a Gen Xer who's going through a midlife crisis, like all old men, who's trying to rebuild his life through nostalgia. I would say that I appreciate it more. I've been enjoying the story, but did this just die?
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the story, but I don't think I would have liked it as a kid, to be honest. And I'm glad I'm reading it now because I'm appreciating it a lot more. Otherwise, it probably was something I read as a kid. I would have spent the rest of my life saying, nah, no, I don't like that book.
Yeah. Well, and it came out in 96, and I didn't read it until I think like 2001 or 2002. So I was in the middle, of college. And then I don't think I would have got it at that point because I just didn't have enough appreciation for literature and appreciation for comics history at that point. Now, by the time I read it, I'm starting teaching college classes and I'm teaching communication classes, and I'm digging into that and starting to develop these pop culture history classes and pieces like that. So now I'm way more interested in it, right? And I have a much better grasp for the golden age. DC also, after Kingdom Come, did a whole JSA relaunch, right? And so then that's how Jeff Johns got really his hands into the DC universe. So it was with that JSA book and the Stargirl book, Star and Stripe, and then, getting in with JSA. And so I'd read those. And so by the time I read Kingdom Come, now I had a really good appreciation for the Golden Age stuff and was actually seeking it out. And so then I was really digging these stories, right? And I think that was led to my appreciation. And I think you're right. It's a piece. I don't think it's, there's a book. I feel like there's a literature that I've read like that too. They forced me to read Old Man and the Sea in 7th grade. And I thought it was the most horrible, fucking terrible, awful thing ever. The only thing I liked in the book was him talking about the baseball box scores that he kept reading.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else, I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. I feel like if I went back and read that book now, I'd have a completely different appreciation for it, right? And I just what an awful book to have you read as a 7th grader, right? It's understanding great literature, but there's nothing in that book that appeals to a, 13, 14-year-old, right? There's nothing there. That's a book you're reading to reflect on life. What life did I even have to reflect on at that point? And now I've gone way off the rails, but we can jump back into this comic.
I just thought of something when we were talking about that. If you think about it, you have Watchmen, Kingdom Come, and Astro City, and a couple other things happening around the time. I think all of those were unappealing because all of them looked at comics from a modern perspective at the Golden Age. And I think maybe that's what the turnoff was for me, at 18 years old. these guys are old.
Yeah.
Their capes and stuff, So I was just, I wonder if that played a role too, because now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, remember? Oh my God, I hate this so much. I'm going to say these things though. Remember when comics were better?
Yeah.
They're not any worse, by the way. I just want to say that. That's just you. You're going to age that way. I go to Burning Man a lot, and everyone always tells me, yeah, Burning Man isn't how it used to be. You mean like the first time you went? Because it's going to be like the first time you went every time from now on? Because someone else who goes to the first time they ever went the next year, those people, to them, it's never going to be like that again. And you're saying that was trash. And they're saying it's the greatest moment of their life. Same thing. It just repeats itself. And I wonder if that era was, those writers in particular who had remembered their grandpas and dads and uncles reading the Golden Age heroes. Now they're coming into age, and they're like, oh yeah, remember when comics were like this, but let's do a modern take on it. And
Yeah.
I think that was unappealing to me growing up.
And it is interesting because that was sort of the two, well, I would say at the time, Marvel was holding on to their X universe, right? DC is expanding out to new ideas because they're getting their ass kicked in sales by Marvel, right? So it makes sense for Marvel to sort of stand pat in some respects with some of their books and continue what they're doing or iterate on that. They did try to redo Spider-Man at the time, right? Obviously with the black suit Spider-Man and bringing in Todd McFarlane, buying him from DC actually to go in and revive those books. Because DC had him over on the ever popular Infinity Inc., which I loved because, how pretty it was. But I will say the stories that Roy and Danny Thomas were writing in there were okay. I mean, they weren't like, and again, here you had another book where it's the sons and daughters of the Golden Age superheroes, right? So, another book there that's doing that same thing that you're talking about.
Well, on the same note, there also is
And
another instance of where, somebody's put on something that's kind of out there on the IP level to see if they can do something with it. With
yeah,
Ty, you know what I'm saying? And like, we talked about just a minute ago, you put them on a project where the IP isn't strong and see if they can get some momentum out of that project before you let them touch any of the real IPs.
well, and you know that Todd only got that book because the artist that was drawing it died too.
And he doesn't know that.
So, yeah.
Or if I did, I've
I'm
forgotten.
I'm totally blanking on the artist, but yeah. And then last thought before we jump into this book, you were mentioning some of the indie things at the time, and a couple of the things that stood out. I remember reading those top 10 lists, right? And John Sable and American Flag were always standing out, like around 84 on those top 10 lists. So you've got two creators that are, I don't want to say grumpy because Howard Chink is definitely grumpy, but I don't want to say that Mike Grell is grumpy. But you had two creators that had kind of gotten a little bit fed up with the big two as far as their IP, right? And getting paid. And while Grell kept working with DC on Green Arrow and Warlord, but he still struck out and did John Sable, right? And was trying to do that. And you did have Howard Chaykin, and like them or not, those two, obviously Ninja Turtles did too, and people say Ninja Turtles is the reason that indie comics took off. But I just disagree with that. I think you had some other books that were critically acclaimed, like John Sable and American Flag, and then that was allowing people to get more business in the indie scope. Like where Ninja Turtles was a short-term thing that then took off into a massive IP, but they got bought out by Topps, right? When they went cartoon and went, so yeah, and good. I'm glad Kevin Eastman is, got to make all his money. Like that, great. But when you look at the long-term impact on comics, things that Chaykin was doing, things that Grell was doing, were giving us, and even when and Greg and I covered Destroyer Duck too.
What is Destroyer Duck? I don't remember Destroyer Duck.
So Destroyer Duck, Gerber was suing Marvel over the ownership of Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
And then he got Jack Kirby to draw a book because Jack Kirby was pissed at the big two companies too, and called Destroyer Duck. And he just threw the book out in the world and told Marvel to fuck off while he was suing.
Oh, so the Eclipse.
Yeah. And big thing too, I believe ElfQuest's first appearance was in Destroyer Duck #1. In the back.
Feeling like the worst ElfQuest fan. I have all my originals. Let me take a
As a
look.
side note.
I'm
Yeah.
just double checking you now because that means I have to go find this dang thing
It's, yeah.
and add it to my collection.
I can, anyway, we're never going to talk about this comic book. We've gotten lost in history. Is it ElfQuest or was it something else? I probably messed that up.
You sure it was like Rocket Man or something like that?
There was some big
Rocketeer?
appearance in Destroyer Duck #1 as like a preview story. These are all things I didn't know. So, yeah, as we get lost. And you're like, this can't be true. It can't be ElfQuest, right? Dan,
Savage Dragon.
It wasn't Savage Dragon.
This is what this says in 2011.
It wasn't Savage Dragon.
Hey, I'm reading this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, this was like a combo book. Okay.
It probably wasn't ElfQuest.
Was it The Rocketeer?
It's got to be something else. ElfQuest first appearance. Are we getting it here?
Boy, we're doing the one thing you always say not to do on the podcast.
Yep. It's not ElfQuest. It can't be ElfQuest. It's got to be something else. What's another Dungeons and Dragons book?
I mean, I don't read that stuff. I read ElfQuest.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. It has to do with space aliens, the spaceships, and time stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, anyway, we'll look this up later. We'll confirm whether I'm not right or not. But I do have the Destroyer Duck. Tomorrow's let out a graphite version of it with just Jack Kirby's pencils, which I will make sure I share the file with you with the electronic version of that, so you can take a look at it later. Jack apparently couldn't draw duckbills, by the way. They had to have somebody redraw his duckbills.
They all look like not duckbills.
I'm not sure. Like, he just couldn't draw duckbills, apparently.
No, I kind of want to see this.
So, anyway, I'll share that with you after the podcast. After this little break in history, what I was trying to do, though, was like the color scheming here that you were complimenting, the purples, the yellows, the non-traditional like superhero coloring, I think really works in these books. And we're getting some really cool Watchmen-esque monsters in these books, too.
Oh, yeah. This gets crazy. I love this stuff. This is where I get happy. This is my happy place.
We go to issue 2 of Into the Storm. That's issue 3 in our series here, but issue 2 of Into the Storm. Power Pack Into the Storm. And we get a book titled Up in the Air. And we do not take a breather from the last issue. Immediately, we've got the dethroned princess of the Snarks, Murad, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Murad. This is Mayhem. Sorry, I'm going to mess it up. Murad is the mom. Mayhem is the daughter, right? Murad and Mayhem. And
Murad,
Mayhem
the villain
is just
from the 2004 book?
I think Murad's the villain from the original book.
I'm going to go double check.
I've got you. We can do that. That's something I can look up online while we're talking. So
I don't have my glasses. I can barely see this book.
That's okay. I've got my Power Pack Into the Storm right here up page, so I can look. Queen Mother Murad, just from Earth 616, from Power Pack #1, May 1984.
All right, hang on.
And died in, you were correct, Power Pack Volume 2, number 4, September 2000. Okay, so they are tying the stories together. There you go.
I'm happy.
And you've got, and they're not messing around. We've got the whole crew. We've got Jenna, Coffee, and all the kids running away from Murad here. And we got Laser Blast.
Mayhem,
sorry. Yeah, and then you flip the page, and light speed is shot through. So I didn't know light speed became intangible.
When she's traveling,
cool.
It's not being shot through. It's going to pass it in front of us. In the
Okay.
foreground.
It hasn't hit her yet.
No.
So she's outrunning it. Okay.
No, she's fine.
You're like, they're safe, Dan. And the whole crew runs into Jenna's ship,
You just call her Jin.
and the what?
I think her name was just Jin.
You said Dejin. Well, I thought it was Dejina,
There's
but
no
then
A
I
at
took
the
away the
end.
D.
You can keep the D away too. I don't see an A at the end of her name. I can't see
Okay.
I can't see the words anymore. But it is Dejina. So Jenna. Ah,
And the whole crew jumps in. Jack gets in there last, stomps on somebody's foot. I love how, like, in these scenes, they're able to keep it serious, right? They're all running from laser guns, but they always keep the humor going in the story with the kids, too.
yeah.
And they kind of screw up a lot because they're kid superheroes, right?
Mhm.
And that's okay.
Sorry, I was just noticing how good this panel work is again.
Are you thinking the next page where, so you got the panel work where it's this fight scene and then it's the four rectangular panels below, and then I flip the page and you get even cooler panel work where you get like a horizontal and then two vertical panels, right? And then a big splash page with a little panel of them in the ship. So like Jim Brigman's giving you like the outside battle and their faces inside at the same time, without doing like a side by side, which is really cool. And this, like I said, this book's going to move quickly for us because there's a lot of fighting at the beginning. And I think, Travis, we talked about this last time too. There was a lot of words in the first issue, which was good to set up the story. And then once the story gets rolling, Louise starts to rely more on June Brigman's art to push the story along, and a little bit less text because now we are set up and we know what's going on.
And also, this is 2, right?
Yep.
So we don't need. They're not going to reset up everything again. There is a little bit of callback in the first page to remind everybody where we are in the story. Right? It's Mayhem, So okay, cool.
Yep.
You ran to Power Pack. Okay, so we're basically reminding everybody where the story is, and then boom, we're right back into the action.
And amazingly, we flip the page and hear the Brood are back in their crazy, like, what fish were those again? Those ships were supposed to look like?
I don't know. Did we talk about that before?
It was in the first book, but I think they look like piranhas. It doesn't matter.
They do look like
what
piranhas.
They are exactly. They did mention it in the original book.
Oh, it's that big fish that the deep sea fish.
Yeah. And the Brood are there, and I do like this where I love this paneling where it's like the one ship's about to suck in the other ship, but it looks like one of those classic ocean fish panels you saw as a kid in school, and then the other fish is about to. I've always loved those panels where it's like the one fish and the next fish and the next fish, like, yeah, and we get that, and all of a sudden, Mayhem has to deal with the Brood now, and is so a little distracted, and through sheer luck, Power Pack is going to get away again.
Yep.
And through no skill or strategy, but just through things happening in the universe. And now we've got a battle between the Brood and Mayhem as the kids escape. And they're all in this small space. Then, as soon as they feel safe, it's move, Frank, you're squishing me. And they're like, it's distractions. All the kids start fighting.
Yeah.
They're immediate. As soon as they feel safe, they immediately go back to being kids.
I'm just noticing the lightning effect on Katie with using the colors the way they are is really, really great. Like this little...
And I like at the bottom of the panel, the last panel at the bottom too. You're talking about the panel work, how we've got the 4 square panels that are them inside the ship, and then we get a view of them with the yellow tinge because you're looking through the screen to see how crammed in they are, right? To illustrate that effect. And also we get a little bit more exposition in the story, just a little bit back. Hey, reminder, Remember those Fantastic Four guys that were here last time? Well, they put a mental block on their son so he couldn't have his superpowers. What jerks. By the way. And how's that going to turn out later, Travis, when you have a mental block on your superpowers your entire childhood and then all of a sudden they manifest? Are you going to like destroy the entire Marvel universe for like 4 months or something?
That's one of the greatest stories ever told.
No, it's not.
It ends with the cheeseburger. Anyways.
Yeah. Let's not. No, it was. It had the potential to be one of the greatest stories ever told. We got Exiles out of it, which I really like that series. Palmer's a big fan of it too. I don't know. You didn't look like you were a big fan of Exiles, so you're looking at me like we're insane.
It's not bad. It's just there's so many comics to read, and it's like if it doesn't hit me right away, I pull away quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
especially as an adult, that I've been, most while.
Yeah.
If it's not just off the rails, I don't seem to pull into it real easily. And that's the whole thing now.
One, and Marvel's gone and redone that whole storyline too, because they don't create anything new now that Disney owns them. So
it is a role.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
And Dan Slott's over at DC now, so now really nothing will get created.
I was gonna say, like you said before, though, with those big IPs, you have to be careful with them because there's an expectation of what a person's buying, and they just want to buy the same thing over and over again. One of my friend's favorite lines is, "We don't have comic book shops. We have Batman stores, and they sell some other comics."
Yeah.
And
well, I've been kind of hinting at that through the last couple podcasts. Yeah.
And so, like, it's soon, to be honest, we're probably going to have just manga shops that also sell Batman and nothing else. I'm not going to be mean or anything. It's just how it is.
Let's see.
And so,
let's pull the top few off the stack here. Absolute Batman, Absolute Flash, Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Martian Manhunter, which was actually pretty amazing. Absolute Superman, Batman and Robin. Only reason Dan's buying that is because Mark Waid's writing it. Oh, Black Canary.
Is it absolute?
No.
How have those
The
been?
Absolutes are on top because they're in A's. Hey, look. You'll be so proud of me. My first independent book here. All right.
Well, what's this book? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, and, you've got your offices right now. DC's got the Batman office and the Justice League office and the Superman office, basically, right? And the Justice League office and the Superman offices are sort of linked right now because Wade's writing across those offices. Cool. And then you've got the Batman office. And then when you get a crossover, it just depends. I feel like they draw straws, and whoever gets the short straw has to do the crossover story, right? So, like, if the Superman office loses, Joshua Williamson has to do the giant crossover story, right? And then if the Batman office loses, Scott Snyder has to lead the crossover story. And then if the Justice League office loses, Mark Waid has to lead the crossover story. So I think it's just whoever gets the short straw at that point. And then they go. And I'm a little less familiar with Marvel right now just because when DC bought Marvel, I stopped buying tons of Marvel stuff very quickly because it started to do exactly what you just said. And in their case, it was like a Wolverine book. We have Wolverine. For a long time, Marvel was, we have Wolverine books.
Yeah. Wait. Did you say when DC bought Marvel?
No.
Okay, because if you
when
said
Disney.
Okay.
Disney.
Because like for a moment there, I thought, wait, did I follow the wrong reality again? Because I do that. And I'm like, that's not real, right? That didn't really happen.
No, I think it's more likely that Marvel would have bought DC. Right now, we're just hoping to everything that Discovery Channel somehow like sells Warner Brothers again because, God, what I need are the people that created reality cooking shows to own my comics, which is what's happening, which is gross.
Well, you know what they say. If you're put in that position, you must be the right person to do it. So damn well it's your way or the highway. Sorry, that drives me nuts, the attitude.
Also, we're about to flip the page here and change color again because we're changing paragraphs and we've got the parents sleeping. But yeah, I think I just remember how'd that work out when they put the person that was over the Harry Potter universe movie wise over the DC Comics universe movie wise. That worked out real well, as I recall. I mean, they're totally not restarting the whole universe right now, right?
Are they doing that again?
Well, they just did with James Gunn's Superman, yeah.
All the movies, right?
So, yeah.
They
You need to
just
watch it. It's good.
oh, the Superman. I loved it.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite comic book movie of
Yeah,
all
we
time.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you watched it. Sorry, I don't know why I said you need to watch it. I mean, everybody needs to watch it. I wasn't directing at you.
Yeah, if you want to watch a movie,
necessarily.
it feels like you're watching a comic book. It is dead on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're relaunching that universe because you put corporate people in charge, and then they're like, oh, well, this person that worked with this transphobe lady and her wizards is going to be really good at doing comic book stuff.
Yeah. Corporate world.
Yeah. Yeah, how'd that Harry Potter shit work out anyway? God. Anyway. It just never meets your heroes, right? They say.
That's a very true thing. Kevin Sorbo blocked me for a reason. And
yeah. God. So anyway, we do change colors again as Travis has been calling out, and we see the fireworks going up in the sky. They wake up Dad and Mom. Dad goes looking for the kids. Short interlude, and then we're back to the other color scheme of outer space. And now that you've pointed this out, I can't unsee it because every time I'm seeing the paragraph changes now. And short or long paragraph, it doesn't matter. It could be a page-long paragraph, and we're going to get 5 pages. It could be a one-sentence paragraph, and we get 1 page. But the art style and the colors continue to update with every scene change, which is kind of awesome.
The team is just sitting on all cylinders through this whole book.
And then we flip the page, and we go back to the story with the kids, and we get away from Mom and Dad. And they're talking about a time tesseract. MacGuffin, anyone?
I also want to point out real fast, we're seeing the story speed up. Have you caught on to that yet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So now we're not doing these full robust splashes. We're doing 1 page, 1 page, 1 page, 1 page. You know, we're building up to something.
Yeah. Well, no, let's do it in Jeff Johns speed. So the first issue was 8 Jeff Johns comic books, and this issue is like 2 of them. And so now we are so anyway, this whole page is just to say they're worried about the parents finding them, and they throw this time tesseract over the house, and so the parents go into suspended animation so we can tell the rest of the story without worrying about parents, which I'm totally fine with. And then we flipped back. The Brood pull in Mayhem, and Mayhem is immediately spilling everything to the Brood. And Mayhem's like, I don't want to get captured, so I'm going to tell them I was chasing a yacht, and there's a snark princess and a chameleon. And the Brood Queen is like, a chameleon? Awesome. I want that chameleon. And that's all going to go well until she figures out somebody else is on that ship. So we flip the page, and we find out they're trying to get a hold of Friday. Where is Friday, Travis?
Nothing. Let's go point something out. There was something they did that was really brilliant a little bit. The kids argue over whether or not Friday's a boy or a girl for a second.
Yep.
That kind of blew my mind because I'd always read Friday's voice in my head as a girl's voice since I was a kid. And now I'm totally confused. And then I'm like, I don't know if it matters.
Yeah.
You know, but it was really cute to call that out. So just wanted to point that.
Yep. And the girls are calling Friday a girl, and the boys are calling Friday a boy.
Yeah. So does Friday talk to you in the expectation, like light? That whole light thing that everyone was buying into for a while, where if light will be a particle, if you want it to be a particle, it will be a beam, a wave if you want it to be a wave.
I read it much simpler than that. I read it as in we have a sexist society who creates gender norms, and the boys think it's a boy and the girls think it's a girl. I just took it as that simple.
You took it more simple than I was. Maybe you hear Friday's voice in the expectation you would have for Friday. But anyway.
So we bounce back into the story, and We learn a little bit more about Jenna. So she talks about her mom would love it. She thinks studying science is a waste of time. Traditionally, a chosen needs to know how to fight, and I'm useless at combat, but she's stuck with me since I'm the firstborn. So we're getting more of that not living up to parents' expectations, right? So we throw the time test around to hide the kids' powers and their adventure from their parents. We find out that Jenna isn't living up to the expectations of her parents. And now we don't have to worry about gendering because we've identified. So that, and then, and Kofi's like, my dad would be furious. He's always telling me to follow the rules. So Kofi's not following the rules and living up to his dad. Jenna's not living up to her mom's expectations. And the Power Pack is not living up to their parents' expectations. Yet they're going to go on an adventure.
I'm just going to point something out. It's always Jack who knows best. Jack's like,
yeah,
we really just need to show our parents. We really just need to show our parents. Is everybody in my family dumb? Let's just go tell them.
Yeah, well, it'll take care of everything. We don't have to hide anymore. And
be honest, to show them.
But what we get, Tattletale, because I'm here, I'm with you now, because he's about to use the Tattletale powers, right? He's gonna go to sleep, and he's gonna go back and find Friday in his sleepy form. And Frank takes Friday, and to go track down Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, because they need help fighting the Brood now. And that's who helped them in the other story, so they're going to go find him. And Franklin, of course, knows every superhero because he's the son of superhero royalty. So he's going to go track him down. And as Franklin's doing that, we get the kids back bounding through space. And Jenna is wandering through these clouds, and they're trying to basically get back to go find. I'm not even sure why they're leaving at this point.
Noticing the candlelight coloring.
Yeah. And I love the coloring too when he's in his dream form, because it's like the muted blues that fit his power. And then it's almost like you're in a dreamscape, right? And then you flip back to the page with the kids and Jenna and Coffee, and it's back to like the color is restored. So it's almost like and Franklin's where everybody else is awake and Franklin's there sleeping, that's reality, right? And then you've got the muted blues on the other side. It is really pretty.
I also love the way Jenna's little is green with that little green plasma.
Yeah.
Emerald green plasma. It just adds to the heat of the color.
And then she's flying her ship too fast. And what happens is now we get the Watchmen space monsters that we were talking about from the cover. And being impulsive, she flies right into one of the space monsters' mouths. And they're like, can't you blast your engine or something? And that's one of my favorites. Like, just make it go faster.
It does remind me of being teenagers with a bunch of kids in the car.
Yeah.
You know, like, none of these people are adults. You know?
Can't you just make it go faster? If Greg was here, he'd be reminding us of the time that his head hit the ceiling, the roof of my International Scout, as we were driving through some neighborhoods that were being developed. Because why would you give a 16-year-old an indestructible car that can go through anything?
He drove through, jumped the Scout.
Oh, I did all sorts of things with that car. Yes. I blew out a load leveler shock in that car. And my dad sees the shock later. He's like, you're driving around on a broken shock. He's like, how did you break that? I'm like, we're just going through some, going in the woods. No big deal. So I can totally empathize with this page. Just make it go faster.
Yeah. That's how they used to keep monsters.
Yeah. Also, I wasn't really popular having an International Scout at that time, as you might imagine, until it snowed. And then everybody wanted to ride to school. It's convenient.
That's how people felt about my AMC station wagon 4x4. But God, it's an ugly car. Oh, it's snowing. Everybody in the station wagon.
Yep. And I had the beautiful lemon yellow Scout. It was beautiful. And my friend Chris had an international travel all.
I don't remember the travel wall. I'll think
That was the big one that looked like a Suburban, basically. Yeah. Anyway, Franklin goes back and he runs into Storm. Your favorite version of Storm, based on our talk.
Remember, I told you, you're gonna get the right Storm. You're gonna get the right Wolverine. You're getting the right Kitty Pryde. You know, all these things are hitting right where they should be.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know X-Men history, we're getting the Mohawk version of Storm that with the darker clothing that happens after she becomes the queen of the Morlocks and starts to doubt herself. She doesn't think she's worthy of being a princess anymore, so she makes some appearance changes. Is that a good summary of like 12 different comic books?
But again, this matches up to how we saw Kitty age-wise.
Yeah.
This matches up where we see Wolverine. So all these things are lining up for the time period.
Yeah, and I think I've read that issue because it's one of those Claremont issues where he tells a story and then has a pause issue where you're like meeting people. And I think I've read that. I had that issue as a kid because it came in one of those like 3 value packs where Kitty's reacting to Storm's change in appearance and is almost like horrified when she first sees Storm this way.
3 value pack comics, man.
Those were the best. They were like a drug. You know, and if you liked one of the 3 in the value pack, you just wanted to go find more. And if you didn't like any of the 3 in the value pack, it was fine. And the one great thing about that one X-Men book I got in that value pack, because it wasn't in the middle of a story, it was between storylines. So it was introducing me to those characters where I wanted to go read more. As opposed to if they just dropped you in the middle of a storyline and you're like, huh? What's happening? But I didn't need to know why Storm cut her hair. I just saw Kitty's reaction to Storm cutting her hair, right? I didn't learn back why Storm cut her hair until years later when somebody handed me those books to read, right? But I wanted to read them because I knew about that. Anyway, now I thought this scene was hilarious because Storm's like, the Brood, and I thought Storm was immediately just going to take off with Franklin to go find the Brood, and she's like, let me go find Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. Bye. Like,
she does do that.
And I was like, okay, flip scene. But I think we do that because we get more time fighting energy space monsters. And I love the flip panel here where they're all upside down. And
it's this little stroke of genius. Because the ship's upside down, they're upside down.
And we get back, and they're all turning to Alex now to ask him what's happening. Which I thought was cool. Because, you know, he is 13.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I lost in the coloring again. There's a goldness to everything, and yet they do a really great job of still having all the characters stand out against that goal. You know, even Franklin and Katie, who are both using an effect. Oh, and Jack, you know, they all stand out well against this gold kind of gradient going on in the background.
And then they all peel out of the ship, and now they're all against that background on the next page, right? You're looking at both pages at the same time. I have to flip one at a time, so that's why I'm a little bit behind
I'll help you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. I just got to the next page, too, with where you're talking about. And we've got a space monster with half of the green ship ingested, right? We've got another one with tentacles around it. Power Pack and Kofi bail out. Franklin is coming back and is trying to tell them something, but they're like, not now. We're fighting monsters. And I thought that was cute, too. Like how Franklin comes back and they're like, no, we're bigger. We know what's going on. Just hold tight. And they want Katie to hurt them and melt them. Disintegrate them. And she doesn't want to do that because if you melt things when you're a child, you're scarred for life. and you get into drugs, and anyway, well, read Starlight. So we get back here, and we're looking at this. We're going to have a dog barking in about 2 seconds. But we get back into the story here, and we've got tons of monsters going on, and Power Pack seems to do a good job drawing all the monsters in, and Katie hits them with one of her power balls instead of disintegrating them. And the monster didn't seem to like it at first, but then is like, oh, that's cool, loves it, and fires it right back at everybody. So I guess it's a good idea we're not trying to melt monsters here. I mean, disintegrate monsters, because they seem to be just fine moving on. Power Pack and Kofi get all bounced around, but all the other monsters start to go away because they seem to be happy with their snack after that. So Katie saves the day as usual. It seems to be a Power Pack trope. And Lightspeed 2 drags everybody out of the way. And then the only problem is there's still a ship being eaten. And that ship being eaten, they don't seem to really know what to do. And so Kofi jams in there with his teleportation powers, drags Jenna out, or she jumps out, right? And he grabs her, and then Franklin just stays there. Which seems scary, because then the ship blows up.
And on a cliffhanger, yeah.
And, yep, and not only do we get that cliffhanger, but as soon as all that happens, the giant brood ship shows up. And you got all of them, except Franklin, standing there looking at the brood ship. The end. Until next time.
So I was just looking at this fan art. Decided in mine, there's these cute little fan art things.
Yeah, I got it too. Yeah, I got like a variant cover.
Yeah, I was just enjoying it.
Where Katie's looking very Sarah-y.
Man, come on.
In the fan art. But yeah, wow. This was a fun book.
This is such a good book.
People are going to get tired of me saying it's a fun book, but this book did everything it was supposed to, right? We had the rising action in book 1. Or sorry, we had the introduction in book 1. We have all the rising action. We have all the rising action here, and we're going to have rising action for a couple more issues because it is a comic book, so there's going to be lots of rising action, a very quick resolution, and then a little bit of falling action because that's how comic books work. But yeah, this was fun. And Storm is coming, we think. Or is she just hanging around trying to find Kitty Pryde and Wolverine?
I'm not going to say anything, but I am going to say there's another variant cover for 5 that's amazing from Elizabeth Torque.
There you go.
It's way up there. It's really good.
I mean, if you don't buy the cool extra special covers, then what are you doing, right?
Yeah, that's the rule.
I mean, all you get is just these regular covers.
Didn't you get the extra special covers?
Oh yeah, I got the extra special covers.
You said you so. I still got a box of extra special covers.
What extra special covers? Let's see. What extra special covers were you talking about? Like this one?
Oh yeah, Richards. I love Richards' cover.
This one?
Oh yeah, Mary's.
I've got some Starlight over here, just hanging out.
Nice.
I don't know why I pulled Starlight out. It's like I was talking to Starlight people. I don't know.
Well, you talk to a Starlight person like every week.
That's true. But now, I think you sent me 2 packs of these.
I probably did.
Sure why.
I probably just sent you 2 on accident. I tried to.
That's okay.
It could have been one of those things where I thought, oh, did I send one for Dan? And I don't want to mess up Dan's order, so I'll just send Dan another order. I've done it to a couple of backers in the past. That's one of my favorite covers, by the way. I've done that a couple of times where actually all the covers are my favorite cover.
I think I also say a number 5 is put away, so I don't have to be sad.
The variant cover you're last say. Oh man!
But yeah, this was fun, and I think probably time. Let's see, we're about an hour and 4 minutes in, Travis. Probably time to do plugs, and then we'll we'll go off the feed here and plan on when we want to do the next one.
Just real quick, do
Keep
you
these
have
folks
one
up.
of the Jenna Iob covers?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't even have one of those. That's crazy. Yeah, that one, and I don't have a cover from Lee Moyer. Those are the two covers I'm missing.
I think I may have all the covers. I may not though. I feel like there's one issue where I didn't get all the covers.
Well, if you're finding out, I'll ask me and I'll send you whatever one you're missing, just so you have a complete set. Because then you'll be the only person I know with a complete set.
And I'll keep track of them.
Because I don't. I have I sold out of Jenna's. I sold out of Lee Moyer. I sold out. I sold out one of the other covers. And I just forgot what it was for Ring Fright Out, but everything else I have some left over. And I slowly was just giving them away or handing to people because I can't keep the inventory forever. So
Yep. One Jenna is one of those people that if I ever get my book going, I hope that I can afford Jenna.
She's literally one of my all-time favorite people in the industry.
Yeah. Because again, now we're talking a mystery because I've told Travis about my story and he knows that it's like 2/4 of the way written, and 2/4, half the way written. Yeah, that makes sense. 2/4 of the way written. I mean, but my story is going to need an artist with some flex, to do different art styles, and so that's why I was like, wow, having her would be amazing. Jenna, if you're listening, which you're not, because why would you listen to this? That's it. Just a couple of quick shout outs. One, Greg's still taking care of some business. Actually, by the time this comes out, that business is probably done and Greg will be back soon. But if you're listening, Travis has been nice enough to sub in. So appreciate it, Travis. But you can still go see Greg and Ann at the Retro Emporium in Kent, Washington on Meeker Street. And like we said last time, you may also be able to see the Squatcho Man. And Travis has never met the Squatcho Man, so and I've never seen Greg and the Squatcho Man in the same place at the same time. So there's a big mystery there. I don't think they're the same person, but they might be. But they can't be, right? Greg can't transform himself into a Sasquatch that acts like Macho Man Randy Savage, can he?
I am really not getting the. I've not.
Oh
seen
yeah,
this.
the Squatcho Man. What?
Oh, man, I had not seen this. So, does he carry his little WWE belt with him when he does it?
Well, I'm not saying I dressed up as the Generico jobber when I was standing next to Squatcho Man one Halloween, but with my lucha mask on. But yeah, that could have happened. So anyway, we got that also. We failed to mention Jiu-Jitsu lawyer Paul, whose alarm is going off right in the middle of my podcast, so it's a good time to mention him. If you need some legal help like Greg does with contracts for comic books, or you just want to have support for some sort of thing that's happening with your employment, reach out to Paul, especially if you're in Washington State or California, because he's licensed in California now. Did you know that?
Nope, I did not know that.
Yeah, so you could contact him for 2 states, but if you're up in the area and you want to reach out to him, or just learn how to choke out people in the gym legally, you can hit up Certified Martial Arts there on 27th and Bridgeport Way / Jackson in Tacoma. So go do that. You can also, it's about time this Kickstarter should probably be out, right? So we probably can find Travis's new Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, Bad Future should be out by now. By the time this,
and we should be close to something about
Nemesis,
cyborgs.
Albert Pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah, those should both be ready to go by this point.
So you should go check those out and support Travis's work. And what I will say about Travis, I'm not just saying that because he's on the show, but if you like what Travis is saying about these books and the thought that goes into how these books are constructed and put together, that's the same thing Travis is doing when he's writing and then putting together a book with his editors and with Brett. Waddell. Is it Waddell or Waddelli? Because Greg and I debate this constantly.
It's Waddell. I thought it was Waddell. He's supposed to be my best friend, and I'm terrible at it.
I feel like I should just have Brett on the podcast, but I don't think he'd ever do it.
Yeah, so. He would. Bring him on.
He might do it. Actually, you know what Brett and I should do? If we ever do a version of the podcast, we should just do it when we're standing at a show talking.
No, because he'll want to sell.
Oh no! He does sell.
Sid is quitting.
I'm okay with people interrupting us. It's fine. But anyway, those are some of my favorite conversations with Brett when we're just standing there at the show next to each other at a table and just going on. So
he knows an unbelievable amount about comics. I grew up just being an ordinary guy that like reads comics and wanted to write comics, and I obsessed over me trying to figure it out. Where Brett actually went to school, he's been in the industry for years. He knows people. He was there for when things happened. So when you have those conversations with him, like I'll sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm not probably the right guy to talk about this. What I think happens." Brett will be like, "No, what really happened was click, 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 bullet list."
Yep. That's why I love talking to Brett about comics. It's fun. And I think, and the reason I'm plugging Brett and Travis too, and they're my friends, so I'd love for you to buy their book. But the second thing is you're going to get the in-depth thought going into the storytelling that you're getting when we do this. So that's why it's fun to have creators on, because we just got to open up Travis's head with a can opener for a couple hours, and you got to find out how he thinks about books. And then I'm gonna let your head go back together though, so it's not gonna leave it open for the
You need to
listeners.
plug Greg.
Well, we'll get to. I did. Greg has the Retro Emporium. He has a book called Absolute Zero's Camp Launchpad out with his co-author Michael Tanner, who also wrote Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, and eventually
Orcs in
possibly
Space.
Yeah, and Orcs in Space, and possibly thanks to a collaboration between Greg, Travis, and jiu-jitsu lawyer Paul, we may get to see more Junior Braves.
Well, you mean Mike?
Well, I mean Mike, but jiu-jitsu lawyer Paul. Oh, what did I say, Travis?
Yeah. I don't work
didn't
on
mean
Junior
that.
Braves.
Mike, I'm sorry. I meant Mike. Because right now, his beard is more epic than yours.
Because I shaved mine off.
Did he shave his off? Because I feel like he maybe did.
When he shaves his off, it's always weird. We ran into each other in a writer's call because we both attend these writer's calls. And he hadn't seen me without a beard in a long time. He was Travis Webb without a beard?
Yeah. And so, but yeah, we may even get more Junior Braves. So, because when you, I'm not going to spoil Junior Braves, but I'll tell Travis when we go off. I don't want to spoil his shoot too, but so we'll get more of that, even though that's book been out for years, but we may even get some more of that. So there we go. And let's wrap this thing up, and we will see you next time on another fun, action-packed battle in space with Power Pack. Or
action-packed Power Pack.
Yeah, or you'll see Greg and I talking about, I'm going to make Travis mad right now, Travis's favorite superhero.
Oh, come on, man.
Bye, everyone.